Everything changed the moment that one clip leaked online. A silent video, grainy, unstable, but enough to destroy 3 lives in a single night. In the footage, a voice is heard, shaking, angry, almost broken. "You promised this would never come out." Within hours, the names start circulating everywhere. Porsha Williams, Todd Tucker, and Candy Burris. No one knows who leaked it. No one knows what really happened that night. But one thing is clear. Someone is lying, and someone is about to lose everything. Because what looked like a private moment has now turned into a full-blown storm of betrayal, secrets, and revenge. And just when everyone thought they understood the story, a second file drops. And this one doesn't just expose the truth. It destroys it completely. But the real question is, who is behind the leak, and why now? Behind every viral scandal, there is always a history no one pays attention to until it explodes. This story begins long before the leaked clip ever surfaced. At the center of it all is Porsha Williams, a rising public figure known for her polished image, controlled statements, and carefully curated social media presence. To the outside world, she was confidence, elegance, and ambition wrapped into one. But those who looked closer always sensed something different, something guarded. Like she was constantly holding back a truth she never fully shared. Then there is Todd Tucker, a man whose name rarely made headlines on its own, but always seemed to appear in the background of bigger stories. Known in certain circles for his influence, his connections, and his unpredictable temperament, Todd carried a reputation that was never fully clear. Some called him misunderstood, others called him dangerous when provoked. And finally, Candy Burris, a name that never sought attention, but somehow always ended up in the middle of it. Candy was known for being observant, calculated, and deeply aware of everything happening around her. She was the type of person who didn't speak much publicly, but when she did, people listened carefully. On the surface, these 3 individuals had no reason to collide. But behind closed doors, their worlds were already quietly overlapping. It started with small appearances, events, mutual connections, private gatherings that never made it to public timelines. Nothing confirmed, nothing openly acknowledged, but enough to raise questions among those who paid attention to patterns. Over time, the distance between them began to shrink in ways nobody could fully explain. Conversations turned into speculation. Speculation turned into rumors. And rumors slowly started building a narrative that no one could control. But what made this situation different from every other celebrity rumor cycle was the silence. None of them ever directly addressed the growing whispers. Porsha Williams would smile in interviews and shift the topic. Todd Tucker would remain completely silent, refusing to engage with any public discussion. And Candy Burris, she stayed in the background, watching everything unfold without a single clear statement. That silence created something dangerous. Because when people don't get answers, they create their own. And in this case, the public imagination filled every gap with assumptions, theories, and accusations that spread faster than the truth ever could. Still, nothing had officially happened, at least not in the public eye. Until one night changed everything. A night that none of them have fully explained. A night that, according to early whispers, brought all 3 names into the same timeline and possibly the same room. And once that night became the subject of speculation, everything that came before it suddenly started to look like a setup. Friendships were questioned. Intentions were doubted. Past interactions were reinterpreted under a new, darker lens. What once looked harmless now felt suspicious. What once felt coincidental now felt planned. And as the pressure of unanswered questions grew, so did the tension between the 3 names that the internet refused to stop linking together. Because in stories like this, the background is never just background. It is the foundation of the explosion that is about to come. The night everything changed didn't begin like a scandal. It began like a celebration. A private gathering. Low lights. Controlled music. Carefully chosen guests. On the surface, it was just another exclusive meetup among people who existed in overlapping social circles. Nothing unusual. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would normally become the center of public obsession. But behind that normality, tension was already building in silence. Porsha Williams arrived earlier than most people expected. Calm on the outside, but visibly distracted. Those close enough to notice later claimed she kept checking her phone more than usual, as if waiting for something or avoiding it. Todd Tucker showed up later, and the energy in the room subtly shifted the moment he entered. Not loud, not obvious, but noticeable enough for those paying attention. And somewhere in the background, Kandi Burruss was already there, observing, not engaging too much, watching interactions like she was collecting pieces of a puzzle no one else could see. For the first hour, everything stayed controlled. Smiles were exchanged. Conversations flowed. Cameras were absent, which made everyone feel safe. Too safe, because that's when things usually slip. According to early, unverified insider claims, the turning point came when Porsha Williams and Todd Tucker were seen having a private exchange away from the main crowd. No one knows exactly what was said, but people nearby described the tone as tense, emotional, and suddenly very serious. At one point, Porsha Williams reportedly stepped back, shaking her head as if she had heard something she wasn't prepared for. And Todd Tucker, usually calm in public, was allegedly seen trying to de-escalate something quickly, lowering his voice, gesturing for privacy. That moment changed everything. Because minutes later, Kandi Burruss was no longer just observing. She was involved. Whispers began spreading that Kandi Burruss had seen something during that exchange. Something she wasn't supposed to see. Something that immediately changed her behavior for the rest of the night. And then came the first twist. A short, blurry clip began circulating in private messages before eventually leaking into wider circulation. In the clip, voices overlap. The audio is unclear, but one phrase stands out repeatedly. "This was never supposed to happen like this." Another voice responds, sharper, more defensive. "Then why are you here tonight?" No faces are clearly visible, but viewers immediately began connecting the timing, the setting, and the known presence of the three individuals. And just like that, speculation turned into certainty, for the public at least. Within hours, the narrative exploded. Porsha Williams was being questioned about her intentions that night. Todd Tucker was being labeled as the central figure in the incident. Kandi Burruss was suddenly being discussed as the missing piece who might know everything. But the biggest shock wasn't the clip itself. It was what happened after it leaked. Because instead of denying it immediately, all three individuals went completely silent. No clarification. No explanation. No correction. And in the world of viral controversy, silence is never empty. It is interpreted. And what the internet interpreted next was far more dangerous than the clip itself. Because this wasn't just a misunderstanding anymore. It was starting to look like something that had been carefully hidden until now. The moment the clip went public, the story stopped being a rumor and became a wildfire. Within hours, it spread across every corner of social media. Not because it was fully clear, but because it was incomplete. And incomplete stories are the ones that spread the fastest. People slowed down the footage, replayed the audio, and started building their own interpretations frame by frame. And that's when the narrative shifted again. Because new alleged details began surfacing. Anonymous accounts started claiming that Porsha Williams wasn't just present that night. She had allegedly arrived with a very specific intention. Some said she was there to confront someone. Others suggested she already knew what would happen before she even entered the venue. None of it was confirmed. But it didn't matter anymore. Meanwhile, Todd Tucker's silence became louder than any statement he could have made. Every hour without clarification made online speculation more aggressive. Some called him involved, others called him misunderstood, but nobody could agree on where the truth actually stood. And then came the second shockwave. A screenshot began circulating, supposedly from a private conversation. It showed fragments of a message thread mentioning that night, along with vague references to trust being broken and everything changing after the meeting. No names were clearly attached. But the internet did what it always does. It connected them anyway. And suddenly, Kandi Burruss became the most mysterious figure in the entire situation. Because according to new theories, Kandi Burruss wasn't just a witness. She was allegedly the one who understood the full picture first. Some online threads claimed she had warned someone earlier that the situation was going too far. Others suggested she had quietly documented parts of the night without anyone noticing. Again, none of it confirmed. But perception doesn't wait for confirmation. It builds its own reality. As the theories multiplied, so did the pressure on all three individuals. Fans turned into investigators. Comment sections turned into courtroom debates. Every old photo, every old interaction, every mutual connection was reanalyzed under a completely new lens. And just when it felt like the situation couldn't get more unstable, a second leak dropped. This time, it wasn't a clip. It was audio. Distorted. Fragmented. But enough to send shockwaves through the entire online discussion. A voice believed by many to be Todd Tucker can be heard saying, "If this comes out, everything changes." Another voice responds immediately. It already has. And then, silence. That final moment changed the entire direction of the story. Because now, it wasn't just about what happened that night. It was about what everyone had been trying to hide since then. And the biggest question shifted once again. If all three of them were present, then who is actually responsible for what happened? Or worse, was someone setting the entire night up from the beginning? By the next morning, the situation was no longer just online gossip. It had turned into a full-scale media storm. Every major entertainment page, commentary channel, and trending blog was now covering the same unfolding narrative. The night involving Porsha Williams, Todd Tucker, and Kandi Burruss. But what made this phase more intense was not the story itself. It was the division it created. Social media split into completely opposite camps. One side insisted that Porsha Williams was being unfairly targeted, arguing that the leaked clips and audio fragments were being taken out of context. They believed she was caught in a situation that was being exaggerated by online speculation. The other side was convinced that too many details were aligning too perfectly to be random. To them, the silence, the timing, and the conflicting reactions pointed toward a deeper truth that had not yet been revealed. And in the middle of this chaos, Todd Tucker's name became the most debated topic online. Some users defended him aggressively, claiming that no solid proof existed against him and that he was being pulled into a narrative built on assumptions. Others, however, were convinced that his refusal to speak publicly was itself an answer, one that suggested he was protecting something far bigger than anyone realized. Meanwhile, Kandi Burruss became the most discussed mystery of all. Online forums began labeling her as the silent observer, the missing link, the one who knows everything. Clips of past interviews, old event photos, and random social media interactions were being analyzed like evidence in a case file. Every small detail suddenly felt significant. Even unrelated past appearances were being reinterpreted as signs that something was always building beneath the surface. Entertainment commentators began fueling the discussion further. Some called it the most confusing celebrity triangle of the year, while others warned that the situation was turning into a dangerous example of how quickly narratives can spiral out of control without verified information. But no matter which side people were on, everyone agreed on one thing. Something about this story didn't feel complete. And then came the most unsettling development yet. A supposed insider update began circulating, claiming that tensions behind the scenes were escalating rapidly. According to these unverified claims, private disagreements were happening between representatives, while pressure was increasing for at least one of the individuals to release a formal statement. But instead of clarity, another silence followed. And that silence only added more fuel to the fire. Because now, the public wasn't just reacting to a scandal anymore. They were waiting for a breaking point. A moment where someone would finally speak the full truth. Or a moment where everything would collapse completely. And as the internet continued to dissect every second of footage, one question kept repeating across every platform. If this is only the beginning of the story, then what exactly is still waiting to be revealed? Just when the entire situation seemed like it had reached its peak, the story took a turn no one saw coming. For days, the internet had been waiting for a statement, any statement, from Porsha Williams, Todd Tucker, or Kandi Burruss. But instead of clarity, what arrived was something far more disturbing. A new file. No source, no explanation, no warning. It appeared across multiple anonymous platforms at the same time, as if it had been deliberately released into the digital world. This time, it wasn't a short clip or a distorted audio fragment. It was a full compilation, edited, layered, and carefully arranged. The footage appeared to stitch together moments from the entire night, some previously seen, some completely new, and some so unclear that viewers couldn't even confirm where they fit in the timeline. But the most shocking part wasn't the visuals. It was the final 12 seconds. A voice calm, controlled, and unmistakably different from the earlier recordings was heard saying, "This was never about what they think it is." Then a pause, followed by another line that immediately changed the direction of every theory online. It was about who would be blamed first. And just like that, everything shifted. Because for the first time, the narrative wasn't pointing toward what happened that night. It was pointing toward intention. Was this entire situation accidental? Or was it constructed from the very beginning? Within hours, new theories exploded online. Some users began suggesting that Porsha Williams may have been positioned as the face of the story from the start, regardless of what actually occurred. Others claimed Todd Tucker was being framed as the central figure to divert attention away from something else entirely. And then the most dangerous theory emerged. That Candy Burris was not just a witness, but potentially the one who understood the entire structure before anyone else. Suddenly, old clips were re-examined again. Every silence now looked intentional. Every hesitation now looked calculated. Every absence of explanation now looked like strategy rather than confusion. But the biggest shock came when viewers noticed something strange in the newly leaked compilation. A brief frame, almost invisible, a timestamp, and beside it, a reflection in the background that didn't match any of the three known individuals. Which meant one terrifying possibility. Someone else was present that night. Someone no one had named yet. Someone who may have been controlling more than just the moment, but the entire narrative itself. And just as quickly as this discovery spread, the entire file disappeared from most platforms. Deleted, removed, erased, as if it was never meant to be seen at all. But it was too late, because now the internet wasn't asking what happened that night anymore. It was asking something far more dangerous. Who is still trying to hide the truth, and why?